What are the types of graph? Let's start by undirected graph, which means the edge between the two vertices, for example here A and B, is the same as the edges between B and C. So if you traverse from A to B, it's the same as B to A. You can traverse from the left direction and opposite direction, basically from one way and the other. You can traverse both way and they are the same. So this is for the undirected graph. For the directed graph, it's called digraph, where it's also called not primary digraph, just including this, where a vertices are connected and all edges are directed from one node to another. So basically here we have C pointing to A pointing to itself and B pointing to D, and D pointing to B. And basically each node points to something, except for the fact that F here is isolated node, but overall the graph itself is a directed graph because most of the nodes are pointing at something. That's a directed graph. For weighted graph, every edge has certain weight represents some value, such as cost, distance, quantity. For example, if you're using map, it might be representing distance. If you're posting like relationship, it might called rapport value. So based on your use case, it has some kind of arbitrary value. For example, in our case, where if the distance, if the edge between F and G vertices is 8 and F and E is 15, each one is different than the other one. So that's the weighted graph. For unweighted graph, where there is no value or weight associated with the edges, so by default all graphs are unweighted unless there is value associated. You might be wondering what's the difference between unweighted and undirected. Unweighted is basically whether the length between the two vertices, which is the edge in our case, doesn't really matter in our case, or they are the same. That's for the unweighted graph. But for undirected graph, that means if you can traverse from A to B, it's the same as traversing from B to A. That's basically the main 2 points here between the differences between undirected graph and unweighted graph. So those are the 4 main types of graphs, and there are special types, which, for example, tree and completed graph and more. So there are some types that are available there, but you can't really cover everything. So you can search it up, but those are the 4 main graph types.